Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. As said, today's video is going to be on breastfeeding tips and tricks. So if you guys would like to see today's video, then just keep watching. I did write some notes down just so I could kind of stay focused and figure out what exactly I'm going to be talking about. And not just being like all over the place. If you know, breastfeeding was hard and you had to give up breastfeeding, then that's okay too, you know. I don't want to make this like a Nazi type of breastfeeding thing, but at the end of the day, breast is best, y'all, period. I actually watched a documentary on how they will literally put breast milk under a stethoscope, or I don't know, and they look at the breast milk and all of its components, and they literally try to make formula mimic it, and they cannot because they just can't do it. But at the end of the day, breast milk is the best milk, you know what I'm saying? So the first pinpointer that I put on here was don't get discouraged. And I feel like a lot of moms get discouraged with breastfeeding. Keep fighting, keep trying, and it sometimes can get hard, but if it gets too hard and you feel like, you know, it's not for you, that's okay too. You know, that's definitely okay. What comes along with being discouraged is just keep trying and look for different ways to breastfeed your baby, because some kids are super easy and you can literally hold them and then just plop your boob in their mouth and they're gonna suck on it. Some kids you have to hold their head with the arm of whatever breast they're on, and you have to guide it with your other hand. You know, sometimes we hold them and then we're trying to guide our boob in their mouth as opposed to holding their head and guiding both at the same time, you know, which is awesome. And I honestly learned that tip from a lactation consultant with Gianna. Gianna was a champ, but I definitely did talk to a lactation consultant just so that I could be, you know, super on board. So that is another one of my tips, is don't be afraid to talk to a lactation consultant. Don't be afraid to reach out, regardless if it's at the hospital. That's my first, I would say, like my first best place that I talked to someone about breastfeeding was at the hospital. You know, leaving the hospital and then having to find a lactation consultant can also feel a little discouraging because you don't want to reach out and have to find one. But at the end of the day, there's so many resources everywhere, and if I can, I will definitely link some resources down below. One of my main ones is WIC with Gianna. That's where I got my lactation experience. I was getting WIC at the time, and they helped me with lactation after. They also helped me get my breast pump, and I love WIC. There's so many, I learned so many amazing things from WIC. But anyways, definitely take a lactation class, because what you can learn from it and benefit from it is just super awesome. Also, one thing I wanted to talk about with breastfeeding, the number one question I get asked a lot, and this is from people who are not moms yet, you know, they always ask like, so does breastfeeding hurt? And it's so funny, but I'm just gonna be honest, and I told them, like, yes, when you start breastfeeding it does hurt, but I think it doesn't hurt. I think it's just a discomfort because it's something new. Obviously, like, your nipples, like, let's be real, they might get a little licky, you know what I'm saying, but they not getting like sucked on, like real life, like keep me alive type of sucked on, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely think that it's a whole new feeling. So I think, yes, I did feel discomfort, and you might even feel pain, because when you're starting, your nipples might get cracked because a baby's sucking on them. They, you know, some people might bleed. With my second, I was getting bleeps. They call them bleeps, because he wasn't latching correctly. So the way he was sucking on my nipple was creating milk under my skin, or I don't know, I believe it was milk under my skin that wasn't coming through my hole. So they were like, you know, your latch is incorrect, just try to work on your latch. And yeah, there's a lot of things that can go with it. And just to talk about how I got rid of those bleeps is, honestly, I just kept breastfeeding. They pop up, one of mine popped on their own, and it does crust over because it's not a milk hole. Yes, it did, but I just continued to push through. So that's another thing, just continue to push through. And let me actually get the nipple cream that I personally was using. I use an organic one. I know that I want to call it like I don't know the name. I don't really know how to pronounce it. It's called like Lashon or whatever. Hold on, let me Google it. Lanolin. So I guess the lanolin ingredient is what you want to put on your breast because, ooh, excuse me, it helps heal your breast. But I also heard about it not being as healthy as well for your baby to feed on. And I think you had to wipe it away. I don't really recall, but I believe you had to wipe it if it was fresh. So I opted to get a more organic type of nipple cream this time, and you don't have to wipe it off before you feed them. So I'm gonna go grab that really fast and I'm gonna show you guys what I used. Okay, so I use Mother Love Nipple Cream, USDA organic. So you do not need to move prior to breastfeeding. And it is extra virgin olive oil, beeswax, shea butter, marshmallow root, and canaldu flour. So this worked great for me. Both times I breastfed, it was, I want to say like the first week or two, I had to just rub it on my nipples, and after that I was in the clear, because I continued to fight through. Some people are, you know, they get a little discouraged from it, but just know it's because your nipples are getting acclimated. You know, it's just like a sport. If we start a sport, not the first week, the first month, you're gonna be going through it, getting in shape, you know, being sore, and I mean throughout the season. But as you get in shape, everything comes easier because your body's getting used to performing at that type of, you know, rate. So it's kind of like the same thing with breastfeeding or picking up a new hobby, whatever the case may be. It's just your body getting used to something new. So I'll show you guys how much I use. Literally, like, it's still a full bottle because I just used it for the first week. Everyone is different. You might go for 2 weeks, but again, talk to a lactation consultant because they can help you latch correctly. And also, speaking of latching, I wanted to talk about one of my tricks that helped me latch, because sometimes babies, they could be tongue tied or even lip tied. So if you talk to I believe you have to go to like a dental office type of thing, and they can look into their mouth and they can refer them to a specialist to get it lasered, because of their lip and their tongue tie, they might not be able to latch on correctly, because I believe these little strings, you know, we all have them up there, they might be super long and it restricts their mouth from opening wide, or their tongue, if it has a big one, it restricts them from latching on with their tongue correctly. So I would definitely, you can talk to a lactation consultant. Again, they will be able to feel in their mouth and let you know, like, oh yeah, baby has a tongue tie or a lip tie. And then at that point you can, you know, go see a specialist if you want to. And if you want to switch over to bottle feeding, again, hey girl, as long as your baby's healthy and staying alive, that's all that matters. But one of my tricks, like I said, Gia was easy peasy lemon squeezy. I could just throw my boob in her mouth. She's on there like, you know, we in there like swimwear. But baby, I had to get you know, creative with him. So I'm using this nipple to kind of show you guys. I call it the pancake method. Flatten it and then put it in their mouth. Instead of giving it to them like this, I will grab my nipple and flatten it, more so around the areola area, and then I would, you know, put it into their mouth. So that's something that definitely helped me. And also I feel like if he's getting frustrated, it's easier to do that as well. But speaking of like frustration and everything like that, I definitely say look out for baby's cues. Baby gives you multiple cues that they're hungry before they start to cry. It's just us as parents, number one, we either aren't taught the cues, we don't know the cues, or we're not paying attention to the cues. So obviously the number one cue, which everyone really knows, when they're sucking on their hand, they're hungry, right? but also they could be searching for a boob if you are breastfed. For bottle fed babies, I don't know, I haven't really looked into the research in regards to bottle fed babies, but as far as breastfed babies, they do search for the nipples. So if you're holding them and they're sucking on your arm, they're sucking on, you know, or they're bobbing their head and they're looking for the nipple, then they are hungry. Another cue is also them puckering their lips. They will pucker their lips when they're hungry. So if you just pay attention to, you know, small little cues like that, it lets you know that they're hungry, and they're giving you that cue that they're hungry before they start screaming and before they start getting frustrated. At that point, they might be like super hungry, and then it's harder to get them to latch on because they're getting so frustrated. And I know a lot of moms talk about that, how their babies are at a certain point, they're just so frustrated they don't even want the boob. Like or it's harder to give them the boob because they're just like super hungry, super frustrated. So I would definitely say pay attention to those cues and just, you know, see what's going on. So my last 2 tips, because baby is waking up and these are my last 2, I'm gonna just mush them together and make it easy peasy. Be consistent with breastfeeding. Number 1, obviously, I feel like when they're newborns and you're jumping from nipple to bottle, it can confuse them. And obviously, you know, bottle expresses milk more quickly than your breast, so they might choose bottle, and if they do, that's okay too. But if you are looking for breastfeeding tips, then I would say just be a little bit more consistent on breastfeeding before you give them the bottle, just so they know breast and they know bottle. I talked about it in my last video. I waited 3 weeks to 4 weeks before I gave him the bottle. He was really good with breastfeeding, so I didn't worry about him getting confused. Sorry if you hear Gia coughing in the back, that's her. So everyone's different, even in regards to like a binky. The binky though didn't really confuse him. I gave him the binky like a couple of days after. I even tried to give it to him the night of. He just didn't want it. But you know, the binky doesn't have milk, so I don't know how it would create confusion personally for me, but it does for some kids. I just wanted to put that out there, just be a part of the tips and the tricks. I'm gonna leave it with enjoy bonding with your baby. Like, it's such a beautiful and genuine moment that literally just take the time to bond with baby. I hear baby waking up. Bond with them and look at them. It's going to make the experience better for you and better for your baby. And like ultimately, like, breastfeeding is such a magical experience. It's awesome. And if you guys are breastfeeding, congratulations. Keep pushing, keep trucking, and you're here for a reason, because you want to keep working at it. So I'm just here to say congratulations on your new baby or your second baby or your new learning experience. And I hope these tips and tricks can definitely help you mamas. And if there's any more questions that you have in regards to breastfeeding, you guys can always leave it in the comments. And if you guys want to be more personal with me, you guys can also direct message me on Instagram. So I will leave my handle here on the screen for you guys. Don't be afraid to reach out to me, because I get so many DMs in regards to motherhood and just connecting with you guys, and I am here for it. I respond to every single one of my comments, y'all. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I'll definitely be seeing you guys in the next video / vlog, which is honestly gonna be real crazy. Y'all ready for this? I'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.